Well, hello YouTube, Louie here, and I'm going to cover a few different things today. The first of which is a story I read in The Week magazine. Alright, this is interesting and a little bit funny, but not if you are in Argentina. Okay? Alright, Buenos Aires. Condom prices soar. With the peso slumping and inflation at more than 50%, Argentines are finding that the price of birth control has soared out of reach. Pharmacists in the recession-battered country say condom sales have shrunk 20% in recent months, and some 144,000 women have gone off the pill this year because they can no longer afford it. Isabel Reynoso, president of the Argentine Pharmaceutical Confederation, told Reuters, "People come in, ask about the prices, and just leave," said Emiliano de Ilio, a pharmacist in the Buenos Aires suburbs. Comedian Guillermo Aquino has gone viral with a sketch in which he apologizes to a potential lover, saying he only has one condom to last the rest of the year. "I love you. It's not you," says the humorist. "It's a socioeconomic situation." So there you go. Well, that is what happens when you have unsound money, right? Let's go take a quick look at any updates for the embattered Argentine people. Hold on one second. All right, so now you can see what's been happening in Argentina. Their currency has been collapsing, worth about 11.5 pennies to the dollar. Or a peso being worth about 11.5 US pennies back in 2014, and now just a little over a penny. All right, and that has been brought about by their economic and monetary policies. And I'll get back to you and show you the price of silver here in just a minute. But here is what's going on in the country. Hold on. Argentina just reinstated foreign currency restrictions. Here's what you need to know. On September 1st, Argentina's central bank announced new restrictions on foreign currency transactions, reversing the decision taken 4 years ago earlier to eliminate currency controls. This was not welcome news for many Argentines whose ability to buy their currency of choice, the US dollar, faces renewed restrictions. President Macri focused his 2015 election campaign on freeing economic constraints that the left-wing government had put in place over the previous decade. One core part of this agenda was his promise to eliminate the capital controls. Within days of taking office, Macri rolled back those controls, which had made it difficult to buy dollars and other foreign currency. So you may ask, why did they want to buy the US dollar so badly? Because their currency was in a free fall due to previous government policies. Well, fast forward, and as we know, they made a deal. Macri made a deal with the International Monetary Fund, borrowed lots of money. So let me read you the upshot of his regime. So why did Macri just put unpopular capital controls back in place? The answer is that Argentina is undergoing a severe economic crisis, which has been years in the making. After the 2015 election, Macri sought to attract foreign investors who shunned Argentina during his predecessor's tenure. By eliminating capital controls and settling a protracted legal dispute with bondholders, the government signaled a clean break with the previous administration's agenda. This restored investors' confidence, but only to a limited degree. Argentina's government still had to borrow a lot of money to finance its budget deficit, which it did so by issuing large amounts of bonds, most of which were denominated in dollars. So here is another consumer of U.S. borrowing. This wasn't a problem for years when borrowing was cheap, but in the early 2018s, a combination of stubbornly high inflation, persistent budget shortfalls, and a severe drought damaged investor and consumer confidence. By April 2018, the peso had lost half of its value. The government burned through billions of dollars of reserves and raised interest rates to sky-high levels to prop up its currency. So that is what is going on in Argentina. Here we show a picture of a woman, basically saying it's hard to get food, and with currency inflation as high as it is, and obviously they were not able to get a handle on spending, their debt is bringing them down. All right, what do citizens do? They run for the US dollar. What do governments do? They restrict access to US dollars. And this is, continuing problem in this country. And I certainly wouldn't expect anything to improve anytime soon as they move further to the left in their elections. So here is a chart of silver in the Argentine peso. Hold on one second. And not surprisingly, as we look back about 5 years, we can see basically the loss of its currency, the loss of control of its currency, with silver being about 100 pesos back in 2014, and now being around 1,000 pesos. That's a 10-to-1 devaluation in their currency, reflected in the price of silver. And I believe that move continues to go. It's taking a little break here as silver consolidates in around 1750 US, but certainly appears that for citizens wishing to escape the peso, if it's now illegal or very, very difficult to buy dollars, this may be one way that citizens are holding on to their purchasing power. There is really not much difference between Argentina and other parts of the world. It's just we haven't gotten there yet. So you see the end game. A $100 ounce of silver one day becomes a $1,000 ounce of silver when the currency loses control. Why does the currency lose control? Well, a combination of excess spending, excess borrowing, and an inability to pay it back. Of course, here in America, we have bragging rights to the world's reserve currency. But if that were not true, we would be facing the very same fate, and maybe we will someday. All right, moving on to the next thing I found interesting this week. I wanted to make a quick video because I think two very significant things happened over the last couple of days. Now, the first that you've heard of is, of course, the central bank saying that gold will be needed if we are to, if the system gets out of control. I'll put a link to this statement, but it was almost so perfect a statement that I, in regard to supporting stacking and supporting a strong non-fiat dollar, that I almost fear it's some kind of a trap, because nobody ever says anything like that unless they're, on the fringe of the financial system. But so that was really significant and 100% true, what they said. Thing number two is that in the Queen's speech a couple days ago, in regard to their Congress, it was a really, really good speech and statement in support of Brexit, in support of the people's vote, in support of a strong pound, strong sterling. I mean, again, more statements, fiscal conservancy. I'm not sure she meant that one, but she pretty much said it. And basically repudiation of excess debt. I can't imagine a better thing, in contrast to where everything is headed. Monetary systems all over the world are cracking under the temptation to just keep printing. right? I think we may have seen there's been some recent developments, and countries continue to be in trouble, and inflation is raging, just to say the least, in some places. And of course, those in the UK can better explain and probably correct what I've just said. But those two things were pretty amazing. And could it be that could it be that people are starting to repudiate the debt syndrome? Could it be that they're starting to worry about the future? Wow, I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like the Federal Reserve's recent move basically said, to participate in the overnight market and print whatever amount of money is needed to do so indefinitely. It's kind of like the day that, the sheriff rode out a Dodge and said, y'all take care of yourself now. Without the United States putting a cap on crazy currency creation, nobody will. And, perhaps that's scaring the central banks. I don't know. Maybe they're worried about their own survival, huh? Perhaps that's scaring the Queen, or scaring the Prime Minister, who the Queen must get along with, I imagine. But anyway, I just think these two things were really, really interesting in our time. These are different times. This is not the same old thing. We should not expect what happened before to happen again, unless it happens differently or it happens worse. So anyway, I just thought I'd put my 2 cents in on that. Just kind of a nothing video about an observation that I made the last couple of days. Man, I am long and strong precious metals right here. Okay, you hear me? All right. You guys, take care. Louie out.